Welcome back to Capitol Review. And what many call a quiet election season, there are things that are certainly heating up in the Commonwealth of Virginia, an historic race on who will become Virginia's next governor, but also in Northern Virginia, a special election to replace a longtime congressman. Joining us is Dr. Larry Sabato, a political science professor and founder of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. Professor, welcome back to Capitol Review.
Nice to be back with you.
We're glad to have you. Let's talk about the race for governor. What are the polls telling you as we get closer to November?
Well, they have really said the same thing all along, which is that Democrat Spanberger has a lead over Republican Earl Sears. And these two women are competing hard. They're everywhere all the time. And so there's still time for things to change. But basically, I'd say Spanberger's up 5 to 7 points. Occasionally you hear of a poll showing it a little bit higher than that. But some Republican-oriented polls have had it lower than that. So it's the usual. You have polls bouncing around. But I think basically the Democrat is ahead, and with Donald Trump as president and unpopular in Virginia, and he is unpopular in Virginia, I think Spanberger has the wind at her back.
Let's talk about that race in Northern Virginia to replace late Congressman Jerry Conley, Democrat Walkinshaw, the Democrat, and Whitson, the Republican. Your thoughts?
Well, it will be an enormous shock and a massive headline if Walkinshaw doesn't win. That's a pretty strongly Democratic district. Very occasionally in a Republican year, it can be close. It was once for Jerry Conley, not that long ago. But the expectation by just about everybody is that Walkinshaw will win that probably handily.
Professor, let's switch gears. You wrote a book, Campaign of Chaos. Why that title?
This was a truly unprecedented election. And people always say that because they're trying to attract attention to whatever book they've got on the market selling a particular election. But it really is. Look at it this way. The eventual winner and a former president, presidential nominee again, was nearly assassinated. It was as close as it could be, a fraction of an inch. And the other candidate, who was the incumbent president, who'd beaten the former president the last time around, dropped out because of a disastrous, truly disastrous debate performance, unparalleled in the history of television debates that began in 1960 with the Kennedy-Nixon debates. The substitute candidate, the vice president, Kamala Harris, obviously got some traction, but not enough. And losing all 7 swing states pretty much sums it up. But we've just never had an election like that. You've never had an incumbent president or essentially a party nominee. He'd already gotten more than the number of delegates that was virtually unanimous for Biden. And yet he had to drop out because of his poor performance and the fact that he was very much showing his age.
Professor, Republicans and Democrats moving forward. Are Republicans going to hitch their wagon to crime? And Democrats, you said they better talk about those kitchen table issues.
Yes, I think crime is part of it. Most of it is just Trump trying to motivate the Republican base. This is an off-year election, which is why the national press pays attention to Virginia and New Jersey. If it were in a regular election, whether the presidential or more likely the midterm election, regular midterm election, those 2 states would just be lost in a dozen or 2 dozen other states having gubernatorial elections. But often these 2 elections do signal something about what's coming in the big midterm year in 2026. So I think Trump, as always, is the sun in this particular solar system. Democrats hate it that he's the sun. Republicans love it that he's the sun, depending on the state. But it is impossible to ignore him because he drives the headlines, not just daily, but hourly.
Professor Larry Sabato, thank you so very much for joining us.
Enjoyed to be with you. Thank you.